we got the same results of improvement in that 8 weeks of time that we had gotten in a full year the first year.
Welcome to the University of Wyoming College of Education podcast. I'm your host, Becky Goodman. I'm here with Michelle Tudor, an alum of our curriculum and instruction program. Michelle, welcome. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and career path?
Sure. Thanks for having me. My name is Michelle Tudor. I am from Lexington, Kentucky, and I just recently retired from a 26-year teaching career. I've been an elementary school teacher, a school administrator. I've worked for the Department of Education, and then I graduated from the University of Wyoming in 2024 with a doctorate in mathematics education.
When you started implementing your math teaching philosophy in the classroom, how did the teachers feel about the program?
They loved it. They did. They were seeing a difference in what the kids were learning, especially those kindergartners that did it the first year. When they went to first grade, the first grade teachers were like, oh my gosh, this is a huge difference in what, and the first graders that did it who went to second grade, those teachers were thrilled as well with what they were coming with. The other thing I found out when I did my dissertation is my advisors encouraged me to interview the teachers who had participated. And I hadn't really thought about that. I thought, I was just, like I said, I didn't think about the kids, how happy they were with it. And I didn't think about what the teachers thought about it. I just want to see the improvement, the numbers, are we improving or not? But when I talked to the teachers, it was interesting because I had one teacher who had participated in the pilot, so she had done it. And then when I did the actual study, she was in the control group, so she did not get to have the intervention in her classroom during that time. I hadn't ever intended to not give it to students. I hadn't really decided how that was going to happen, but having to have a control class who didn't get the intervention was very hard for me because I knew what a difference it made for the kids. And so there was going to be that whole class of kids that wasn't getting that. And so it didn't feel good to me either. But I'm sure it felt worse to her because she didn't have the help in the classroom and, wasn't able to do what she knew was going to work. And she told me that one of the things she loved about it the most and missed about it the most was having that other teacher in the classroom with her and being able to hear that teacher teach. She said that was some of the most valuable professional development she had ever had because she was able to hear how that teacher communicated with students, things she said, how she helped them feel good about what they were doing, how she intervened in their misconceptions, and being able to talk with her about individual student needs. And that teacher had seen things that she hadn't seen. And so to then go back to not having that anymore was really disheartening to her. Did
you have a certain way of selecting her as the control?
Yes. The other teacher in kindergarten, so there was a brand new teacher in kindergarten who had never done it. So I wasn't going to include her in the study, right? Because I hadn't trained her. She hadn't been trained in anything like it. Then that teacher that had only participated for 1 year, and then the other kindergarten teacher had participated the 2 previous years with the same interventionist. And so I really wanted to see what that combination of them working together had become. So that's why they became the test class and the other became the control.
I can just imagine how that frustration would definitely be there, and having to kind of bounce back from being like, oh man, I'm the one that's gonna have to be, on my own,
yeah. I think it was a hard year for her, I think, yeah. And that was a sentiment shared by the other teachers as well, that having that other person in the room. And it even led me to do a little research about co-teaching. And there's oftentimes in education, we think of co-teaching as a special education teacher coming into the room and teaching with you. And that does happen. But there was some other research about co-teaching where there are actually 2 certified teachers in the room teaching in a small group setting, and how beneficial it is to both the students and the teachers participating. And that was really interesting to find, and something that I would not have looked for if I hadn't talked to those teachers to find out about that. That was something I was not expecting.
I remember when I was little, when we had bigger classes, I had partner teachers, but it was always just they'd pass us off for different subjects sometimes.
Yeah.
And I remember always thinking, why can't we just conglomerate, almost colonial style a little bit? Because teachers just need the support. I mean, there's just so much going on. So
there is, yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and like I said too, you can break students into smaller groups. There's less downtime for students. If there's one teacher in the classroom trying to do small groups, then you've got 2 or 3 other groups of students who aren't with a teacher.
Yeah,
and that's not necessarily valuable instructional time, right? It's hard to maintain that. So yeah, there's a lot of advantages to small group instruction, especially when you have another teacher in the room with you.
So during the 3rd year of your program, you got pushback from the new principal. Why do you think that was?
Well, they hadn't been there to see the success of it previously. That was one thing. Oftentimes, when you come in as a new principal, you have things that you want to see happen. And that wasn't something that she had thought about. I want to see this happen. So thankfully, they went ahead and let me do the intervention that first semester. And I got a call at Christmas from the assistant principal saying that they wanted to stop the intervention because it had been so successful, which seems counterintuitive. And they wanted to use the intervention teachers for other things. And so I was pretty devastated by that. I was really concerned, one, for my study, obviously, because I made it to this point and I needed to finish. And 2, for the students. I felt like that was just going to be such a change in the instruction they were receiving. And I knew the teachers would continue to do what they could, right? They're good teachers and they wanted to do the best for their students, but it just wasn't going to be the same with just one person in the room trying to do that. And so it was disappointing to me, really. I hated to see that happen because I feel like it was making a difference for kids in that school. But, I wasn't there anymore, and I just had to accept that, and that happens, But I was able to, my advisor and my committee said, go ahead and do your post-test now and get the results. And one thing that came out of it that I would not have known had that not happened is that the teachers that I was working with in the school, we had gotten better at doing this, right? We knew what we were doing. They were planning now because I wasn't there. And so they've gotten better at it, and they knew what misconceptions to look for, and they knew how to push kids when they needed to be pushed. And we got the same results of improvement in that 8 weeks of time that we had gotten in a full year the first year. So that was really important to me to learn because it did mean some things. It meant that we didn't necessarily have to run this for a full year, right? We could get into a class, we could do intense work for several weeks, get those kids up to speed, and then maybe go on and do it in another class. So it would maybe reduce the number of people you needed to do it. Like you could go from class to class kind of get started and things. So it did give me some valuable information that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So, I think that things always happen for a reason, and they work out the way they're supposed to. So I didn't have any hard feelings about things. I knew that they were doing what they had to do, and I had to finish as best I could then. So
I think you hit on it a little bit, but how did you respond to that phone call?
Well, I had a good cry. And then I called my advisor, who was used to me having a good cry. She was very good about that. And she's like, okay, this is solvable. We can, this isn't because I was getting ready to start my last semester. Like the study was going to be done, right? I had to write that dissertation and be done. And I couldn't fathom how I could start over at a new school and try to, do this again. So she was very good about, this is doable. We can make this happen. So, she was very supportive. And of course my husband was, we were actually on vacation at the time when I got the call, and I was like, whoa, but he was very supportive, and I was able to pick myself up and move on. So it was good.
I'm so sorry, though. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad that you had the support from your advisor. Honestly, I feel like it's a reminder, though, that you need people in your life that are able to pick you up and make sure that you can keep going, because that's something that, if you really get to, that would hinder your ability to keep going. And I know that was your greatest fear. So in that moment, it sounds like you were just really, really strong, and I really applaud your strength and your ability to kind of end it and just kind of grab the results and then use the support in your life to continue to keep going and, you know, do it for also the future education of these kids. I think that's really awesome.
Oh, well, thank you.